Okay, I've got the beam in. Here's the beam. The beam is in place. Triple wide. Went triple wide instead of double wide because I was just perceiving too much sag after I didn't even let it all the way down with the hydraulic jack before I realized I better put in a third beam. That's just a lot of weight. What I was fighting against is these joists. They've been sagging for a long, long time, so they wanted to stay sagged, and their sag was 2.5 inches worth. That's a lot of sag. That's a lot of movement for a board alone. Not only the board, but also the floorboards that are nailed to it above it. They all working together cause a great resistance when you're jacking on this beam to try to get it up into position. There was an incredible amount of resistance as I was jacking up that hydraulic jack, and you might suspect that there's a lot to be done preliminarily before I start jacking in order to have a solid base that will take that kind of pressure on one point where the jack is sitting. And I might have shown you earlier when I had it set up originally with the 6x6 in place. I don't know if I actually I pointed this down here. I had a 6x6 in place spanning across some of the joists in this area here. And then I made sure to place the hydraulic jack in an area where the weight would transfer directly down into a joist, a 2x10 joist, or 2x8 rather, that's under the floor, and then that weight would transfer down into the beam that was under it, and then consequently all the way transferred to a small beam support that was under there. It was actually a log, but it was sitting on a footing, and I inspected it, and it passed the test. It had good integrity yet, so I used that as our bearing point for jacking, and it worked well. And so what we have bearing now, the beam is our cripple or our jack studs that are in place there, holding the beam in place, and sitting over the top of our old beam there. That's actually sitting on top of part of the foundation there, and then on this side, our cripple, our jack studs are sitting on top of the floor plate, and then also the 2x8 joists that I had jacked up earlier to bring it up to the appropriate height. So we did pretty good, and I don't know if I showed you this yet, but so then after letting down our hydraulic jack, it's normal to have some recurring sag, a little bit of residual downward motion, because that's quite a span, and I didn't use a taller LVL for our beam. This is 9.5. I could have went up to 11.5 or 11 1/4, whatever it is, to get better shear strength, to get better strength. But then we're also losing 2 more inches of headroom in the kitchen, and that's just so we ended up kind of compromising or going splitting the difference, so to speak. And so we ended up with the 9.5, and after setting our hydraulic jack, or removing our hydraulic jack, we ended up with just a residual 5/16 sag over 13 feet. That is fantastic when you compare that to the original sag on each joist, which overall it was approximately, it was about 2.5 inches. So we raised it over 2 1/4. We raised it about 2 1/4 inches or more, and you'll notice that really well upstairs. That'll help a lot. Okay, before I keep rambling and stumbling over my words anymore, because it's the end of the day, that's all I wanted to show you. That stuff's coming down sideways. Can you see it? Oh! I can't see it on the video screen. Hopefully you can see it. It's coming down sideways. We like getting snow up here in the Arctic Circle. All right, well, one little update, I guess, as long as I have the camera on. I just got this joist taken care of. Put in on top of that concrete I poured. A little green treated plate, A little extra shimming. Get rid of that gap. The subfloor is down to where it's, or up to where, or the joist is up to where it's supposed to be. Got appropriate shimming over there. You also note that there's some screw heads here and here and here. A couple of them going down like that. Tying it all together, if you remember, these two components of the beam were severely separated, like at least by an inch or more. I don't know what the design was, if the beams were interlocked in some way, so that one, anyways, they separated, they were broke, screwed them all together, got it all shimmed up. It's going to be fantastic. This side's solid as a rock. Okay, I'm good. Look, it's an amazing floating wall. Don't be alarmed. It's only now more accurately representing what was actually going on when there was just rotted portions of 2x4 on the bottom ends of what you just saw. I just cut the rotted portion off because the rotted portion wasn't doing anything anyways. The rotted portion wasn't doing anything. It was just wiggling anyways. So, you may say, if you go outside and look up there, that is an eave side of the house, which would qualify then, okay, well that would mean, well, that's should be a load-bearing wall. What load? Well, a load that's in the wall, floor load, the wall, and the roof load that sits on the wall. It's a load-bearing wall. What's it doing floating? Yeah, gotta fix it. That's it. Gotta fix it. That'd be good, yeah? That's good, yeah? Alright, what you're looking at is the ends of the joists I just cut off where they were rotting or not doing so hot. We left a couple of the integral ones in place still. You can see now also with those out of the way, the definite difference between the old foundation and what I poured as concrete to fill in where the foundation was missing. Providing a nice pad to work off from. And now along that back side I also did a little bit of cleaning up, removing any of the rotted ends of the existing beam there. Now it's exposing also a little bit of, just a little bit more tuck pointing, a little more mortar work that I'll do, just to make sure we don't get any critters or things coming up through there that we don't want underneath in the crawl space. And a little bit along here as well, but this will be the pathway for the new joist. I cleaned out that corner too, getting rid of that rotting beam sitting back there. And another thing to note would be, it's interesting, is this that whole wall I mentioned just a minute ago is a load-bearing wall, but none of the studs are touching. None of those wall studs that you can see from underneath there, they're just not touching anything. Excuse me. So it's floating. So I believe if you can see in the video itself, if you can see some a downward trend on those boards going from right to left, that's probably just the stress of the weight of the building, and then those boards were actually serving to be like a sheathing, holding those 2x4s kind of in place while it's trying to compress down. It's keeping by shear strength. Alright, I can't resist. I gotta have some sort of an accent going on up in here. There's some tuck pointing. Actually, not really technically tuck pointing. It's just mortar work. Just squishing some mortar into the holes. Tuck pointing, I think, is literally when you're... Well, whatever. Anyways, I'll skip that lesson. Yep, there's some mortar patched up nicely. Gonna start working, get this thing... Get these joists in. Okay, bye.